Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to learn something very exciting and practical. Smart Excel automation using VBA which is powered by ChatGPT. If you are a data analyst, MIS executive or Excel user who wants to save time and avoid repetitive work, this video is for you. In this video, I will show you how ChatGPT can help you write VBA code and how can you automate daily Excel tasks. No advanced coding knowledge is required. If you know Excel and basics of VBA, you are good to go. Let's get started. Now, let's try to understand what are different things you can automate. Using VBA with ChatGPT, you can automate many repetitive Excel tasks such as cleaning your raw data, generating reports with a single click, formatting worksheets automatically, applying data validation rules, and sending emails directly from Excel. Now, let's try to understand how VBA and ChatGPT work together. ChatGPT does not connect directly to Excel. Instead, we use ChatGPT as a VBA code assistant. The steps are very simple. You have to explain your requirement to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is going to generate a VBA code for you. You are going to copy paste the code into Excel VBA editor and then you are going to run the macro and then you are going to automate your task. Now let's try to have this practically implemented. Okay, so now let's try to see how can you automate your task by taking help of ChatGPT to write the macro code or to write the VBA code. So for that, we are going to look at the two examples and that are very common examples that you might face in your data analytics journey. The first one example that we are going to cover is this data is having the customer's transactional information, the demographics of the customers, the date on which they are ordering the products, the quantities being ordered, the price of every quantity, and then the cells corresponding that are getting generated. Now here the problem with this data is it is having certain blank rows. So I want to get rid of the blank rows, the first thing. The second thing is here you will be able to see the before city names also and before the names of the customers there are certain blank spaces or you can say white spaces. So I also want to get rid of the same and I want to convert the text to the proper text format. As of now it is in the lowercase. So what is my requirement is I want to have this text into a proper format, proper text, a proper case of format. So what does that mean? So there are two words here, right? So every first character of every word should be in the capitals. So that is what my requirement is. So for that, I'm not going to do this task manually because as of now this data is only for the few rows. But what if this data was around 1000 rows, 10,000 rows, right? You will not be able to do this task on your own, right? So for that, we are going to create a macro and I'm going to get the mac code for that macro through VBA, through ChatGPT. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the ChatGPT. Here I've already signed in with my account and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create the macro code for the same for my requirement. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type down the prompt for the same, right? Like a create a VBA code for my requirement. And here I'm going to pass my requirement and my requirement is I want to remove the blank rows from the sheet 1. Then the next requirement is I want to trim the extra spaces between or you can say from all the cells. Okay, and my third requirement is I want to convert text to proper case format. That's it. That is what my requirement is. And I have clearly mentioned that I want to remove the blank rows from this sheet as my Excel workbook is having two sheets in it. But I have to be very specific while writing the prompts, right? I'm going to hit enter key. So ChatGPT is going to understand my prompt and it is going to generate a VBA code out of it. Now, once it has completed with the VBA code, we are going to run this particular macro, right? But for that, let's try to finish that code that is getting generated by ChatGPT. And not only ChatGPT is going to give you the macro code for the requirement that you have mentioned in your prompt, but also it is going to help you out with how can you use it, right? So it is also letting you know the steps, like you have to press this shortcut key, then you have to click on the insert option, and then you have to click on the modules. And the modules are just a containers, or you can say a place where you can store all the type of macros in it, similar type of macros you can say. And then you have to paste the code that you have copied, and then you can close the editor and you can run this particular macro. So ChatGPT is also giving you the code for the macro, along with it is also trying to let you know how you have to use it. So for that, I'm going to copy this code, then I'm going to go to my Excel workbook, and here to copy, to paste the code that I have copied, I have to open up the VBA query editor. So I'll have to open the VBA editor. And how can you open it is, you can right click on this sheet, right click and click on the view code, and here you are going to see your VBA editor. So if you are not able to see the project explorer and the properties window, you can click on the view, and you'll be able to see those. Now here, as per ChatGPT, it has told me to create a module and then paste the code in it. So that was there in the insert. Then I'm going to click on the module, and here I'm going to paste the code that I've copied. So this is what a VBA code looks like. And if I had to write manually on my own, it would have taken some time, right? So that is the reason I'm using the ChatGPT to automate this task. Macros are going to automate your task, but ChatGPT is going to help me out with the code writing, which is going to save a lot of time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this Excel workbook and this macro side by side. And if you don't want to see this, you can click on this close icon. So that is going to get closed. Now here on the left side, you're having this worksheet, and on the right side, that is what the macro code that you have copy pasted from the chat GPT, right? Now to execute it, you have to just click on this run button. So once you click on that, you will be able to see the ChatGPT is able to identify, and it is able to give me the proper code as per my requirement. As you can see, the text earlier which was there not in the proper case, now it has converted into a proper case. Also the names of the cities were also not in the proper case, right? So it has converted that. Also the formatting of the date is bit a missed, but let me try to select it, and I can go to the home tab, and then I can align it to the center or wherever you want, and you'll have that alignment. So the alignment fix issue was there, but ChatGPT has done great job till here, right? And that was what my requirement was, to remove the blank rows, then to have the extra spaces getting rid of, and converting the text to the proper keys. So that is completely satisfied by the ChatGPT. And now let's try to look at the next example. So for that, let me go to the next sheet, and here let me try to explain what this data is all about. So this data is having again the transactional level information of the different orders from the different regions, orders placed by different customers, the quantities, the product categories, per unit price of that particular products, along with the sales that are getting generated for that particular transaction. Now my requirement is, I want to highlight an entire row. I want to highlight an entire row wherever the sales is greater than 2000. Okay, so whenever the value of sales is above 2000, I want to highlight an entire row. So for that, either you can use the conditional formatting options, where you can use the custom formula, but here we are going to solve this with the help of a chat GPT. So for that, again I'm going to go to the chat GPT, and here I'm going to write the prompt for the same. So my requirement is to create a VBA code uh, to highlight an entire row with, let's say, yellow color, and yellow color where my condition I'm mentioning, where the cells is above, or where you can say cells are above 2000, and this value you can change it, right? And I'm also letting him know that assume my data is in sheet 2, and row 1 contain column headers. Also my data is from column A till column I, right? So I've mentioned everything clearly, the color with which I want to highlight an entire row, then what is my condition, then where actually the data is placed, row 1 is containing what value, and my columns are from which value to which value, like from which column to which column. And then I'm going to hit enter, or else you can use the arrow key that is present over here. Now, instead of writing all this long code manually on your own, you have to take help of ChatGPT for the same. So ChatGPT is going to give you a structured macro within a seconds, right? So this is what a macro that is generated by ChatGPT, and it is also at the end it is going to give me this message box once it has done running that macro, and it is also trying to check how can you do the other modifications, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this VBA code, and then I'm going to go to the editor again back, and herein I'm going to create a new module, or else you can hit enter and you can paste the code that you have copied. Now I'm present in the sheet 2, and here I want to highlight an entire row wherever the cells are above 2000. So for that what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this, and see it is going to give me the message box, and within a click, within few seconds I am able to get my requirement getting satisfied, right? The rows with the cells above 2000 are highlighted very easily, right? So here you'll be able to see, as I've clearly mentioned, my data was there in the sheet 2. Also I've mentioned my columns are starting from A till I. If you had skipped these options, then you will not be able to see the correct results, because it is going to assume that it is going to highlight entire row. If you don't mention these values, like I'm having the data from column A to column I, then it is going to highlight entire row. If you don't mention color, then it would have highlighted with some other color. So you have to be very specific while using ChatGPT for generating the macros. Now let's have a look at some of the best practices that you have to follow when using ChatGPT for the VBA. Now, always you have to describe your requirement very clearly. You have to be very specific and clear as possible. You have to mention the names of the sheets and the columns. You have to test these macros on a sample data first, because as you all know, you cannot undo this process once you have run your macro, right? Do not blindly run this macro code on a critical data. So test it first on your sample data, then only run it on the actual data. So to conclude, we saw how ChatGPT can be used as a smart assistant to write VBA code and automate the repetitive Excel tasks. By combining this VBA with the ChatGPT or with AI, data analysts can save a lot of time. They'll reduce the manual errors and they'll focus on the insights rather than repetitive work. So I encourage you guys to experiment with the ChatGPT, modify the VBA logic, and apply these automations to your own data analytics project. Thank you for your time.